Hey everybody, my name's Seth and welcome to my first chart ruler installment. Today I'm going to be covering Saturn as your chart ruler. Um, this means you have a Capricorn ascendant. I will be covering Saturn in the Aquarius rising video, but that will be as a co-ruler. The chart ruler is the planet that rules your first house. It's kind of just that simple. The difference between the chart ruler and the ruler of your second house, the ruler of your third house, the ruler of your fourth, is that the chart ruler is actually giving a strong direction to your life. What's going on with the planet that rules your first house is actually putting a lot of information into where and how you use your ascendant at all. Let's say someone has a Taurus ascendant and their Venus is in Aries. Give them a Pisces sun and a Cancer moon. They're still going to be a little more driven, a little more attention getting. They're going to be a little more really fast paced than the average Taurus ascendant. And they're going to be a little more aggressive than the average Taurus ascendant with a Pisces sun and a Cancer moon, because that chart ruler is actually giving a good amount of influence onto how they want to express their Taurus energy. Venus is the energy that wants to be in power. Venus is going to be the energy that unlocks power for them, besides Pluto. So looking at the typical Capricorn ascendant, that would be Capricorn, first house, Aquarius, second house, Pisces, third house, and so on. Let's start off with Saturn in the first house. If you have Saturn in your first house, then firstly, you're a little more secretive, you're a little more self-contained, you're a little more self-controlled. You're good at organization, you're good at being able to really force yourself to be strict and dedicated to whatever it is that you really feel the need to be dedicated to. This also means that your power is your own here. Saturn is putting a lot of emphasis and responsibility on you to take ownership of your own power, to take ownership of your own life, and to create the success he wants in your own world. With Saturn being in Capricorn, for him to be sitting in your first house, most likely, typically, he wants you to turn the power he's giving you into tangible power, to actually have a job where you have a lot of power, to actually be in a position where you are a powerful person, because now you are manifesting his energy into tangible life like Capricorn. You'll also want to look at what's going on with Aries, what's going on with Mars, because these are going to give you another idea of what's going on with your ascendant. If you have a Capricorn ascendant, you have Aries in your fourth house. This means that Saturn is now going to be associated with the family and making sure that you take care of your family. And then wherever your Mars is placed is going to tell you how you plan on taking care of that family, how you go about it. Let's say you have Saturn in Aquarius. In a typical chart, that would mean that Saturn is sitting in your second house. So to have your chart ruler sitting in the second house means that you're automatically going to be more business oriented. For Saturn to be sitting in Aquarius tells us that you're going to be focused on really creating a business that influences communities at a time. This means that you're going to be relying on infiltrating a community, infiltrating a culture, becoming part of it, and then gaining influence within it to really influence your business and influence your financial success. With this placement, you're also going to want to look at what's going on with Taurus as well. Taurus is sitting in the fifth house in a typical chart. So you know that you're going to go about retrieving this success in business, and this business is most likely going to revolve around creative endeavors, either cultivating creative endeavors, being very interested in collecting art, selling art, and things of artistry and music, or you're actually going to create it yourself and create art and create music. Either it's going to be the entertainment and expression that you like is going to be a part of your business, or the creation and expression that you create is going to be a part of your business. You're also going to want to look at what's going on with Venus. Wherever Venus is in your chart and what sign it's sitting in is going to tell you really if it's going to be, your business is going to surround you selling art or you actually cultivating it, selling your own art or selling someone else's, sort of thing. It's also going to tell you how you go about making this art a part of your business, and how are you going to sell it? How are you going to get people to want to buy it from you? Now, if you have Saturn and Pisces in your third house, as your ascendant ruler, Saturn is making your life a little more, your life and your career a little more dependent on the fact that you are so observant. And that serious type mind you have, and that serious researching sort of energy, that curiosity that really turns into useful endeavors, is going to actually be significant in what you do daily and how you lead your life, because Saturn is putting a lot of power there. He's cultivating power for you to utilize within yourself. You're also going to want to look at what's going on with Gemini. With Gemini sitting in your 6th house, you know that the ways in which you utilize your observation, your serious intellect, and your very strong intelligence, the way you utilize those things is to be of service to people. You want to be able to collect this information and help others with it. Make it useful, make it a tool, instead of maybe something to make money off of, where it's like money may come into play because this is Saturn. But it's more, you're not really focused on that. You're focused on honing your crafts and honing your skills and honing your intelligence for the sake of teaching other people. You're also going to look at what's going on with Mercury. Mercury will tell you to what degree this actually becomes. Are you the type of person that wants to actually become a teacher? Are you the type of person that just likes to learn things just to learn them because you like to be smart? Are you the type of person that learns things and then immediately spreads it to everybody you know? Just being a communicator, a strong communicator of information. What's going on and how do you approach this? Mercury's going to tell you that. And really, when you go back to what's going on with Saturn, then you get to see how you implement all of this. How are you making this all happen in your day-to-day life as the ruler of your 1st house? Now, with Saturn sitting in your 4th house, you're very comfortable with responsibility. You grew up with it. You've always had it on your shoulders. And you are actually so comfortable with it that now that you're an adult, or I'm assuming with Saturn and Aries, you'll find that you actually crave this responsibility. You like being able to take care of your family. You like being able to cultivate a family and cultivate an identity around your family, a career identity around your family. This becomes a focus of what you're doing, and comparative to Saturn being in your 1st house and your family being something that drives you. Now this is your actual focus, and what's going on with Cancer is what's going to drive you. And that's going to be relationships, because Cancer is typically sitting in your 7th house. This means that you want to utilize the relationships within your family, bring family into your work, utilize the efforts of your family to cultivate work, to cultivate success, and utilize that responsibility and actually delegate it out to everyone within your family. So everyone is responsible for something, and you're just the one leading the charge. Now, if you look at your moon sign, what's going on with your moon, you get to see how you go about this. Is your family actually going to be a part of your business, or is it just going to have to do with delegating responsibility? Or something in between, really. So just look at that, and that gives you an idea of what's going on with Cancer, and then Cancer is giving you an idea of how your Saturn is utilizing his placement in your 4th house, and then telling you what's going on with Capricorn and what Capricorn is focused on and what are you going to be doing in your day-to-day life. Hopefully this is all making sense so far. I will continue. Now, if we put Saturn in your 5th house, you're going to see actually that Saturn struggles here. Saturn is actually going to make you a little more self-protective and self-restrictive within love. And Saturn is going to make it a little harder for you to relax and actually have fun. You're going to take self-expression pretty seriously. And the joy of it is actually might be a little lost on you. And with this being in Taurus, it's the idea of you actually being a crafty person, but you actually using this craft and paying attention to this craftiness and this drive to be crafty as a business adventure, as something that you take very seriously and that you want to do something with, and you want to build it as a talent that is acknowledged, rather than something that you enjoy and express yourself through. Now, when you look at what's going on with Leo sitting in your 8th house, you're going to see that having Saturn as your ascendant ruler sitting in your 5th house means that you're going to have to deal with why you cannot create art from your heart, just express yourself. Why can you not just find love that you can attach yourself to and really let yourself go in? Why does this not come easily? What are these demons that you have to face when it comes to the art that you are denying yourself? And the expression that you are denying yourself. Why is the things that you want to put your heart into always end up turning into something serious when you just want to put emotions and self-expression and passion into it? How can you mix the two? How can you make it come out and make your art even better? There's going to be a theme there. It's going to be a big part of what you're doing in your life. Art and dealing with the struggle of self-expression and business and all these different things coming together. Looking at where your sun is placed and what's going on with your sun, you're going to see what the struggle really has to do with. Let's say your sun's in Leo. It really is going to be, what is my problem? Why can't I get to this passion? Why can't I just express myself and have fun within this? If you put your sun in Virgo, it's going to be, how can I make this better? How can I create art that seems like it's from my heart, no matter what? Because people are going to buy into that. People are going to understand that. People are going to praise me and pay me and give me awards for that. Put your sun in different placements and you can understand how that works. And look at these transits, look what's going on in your entire chart, and you really get that full story of what's going on with you. Starting with your ascendant ruler being in Saturn in the 5th house. Now we put Saturn in your 6th house, in Gemini, typically. And you see the seriousness that you take your work, and the idea that responsibility is your job. You are responsible for being responsible for everybody else's problems as well as your own. You like being helpful. More than like it, you are forced to like it. Because if you don't, you're just going to want to explode, because you are forever put in the position to have to help everyone and to be helpful and to be a tool in life in general. Having this in Gemini means that it's going to be your intellect, it's going to be your mind. How can you help create knowledge? How can you help make other people knowledgeable? What can you communicate in your life to help others grow intellectually, to help them grow logically? And also you're looking at the restraints that you put on yourself and the strictness that you put into your own body and your own mind, and the rigidity of how well you maintain your mind and your body. Now, when you look at where Virgo sits within your 9th house, you can see that this placement makes you an amazing teacher. Because not only are you into the logic, and you take the logic very seriously, the logic in life and the logic of reality, you're also taking what's going on with the big picture. How can people grow wiser? How can people really become philosophers and professors compared to a teacher? You are indulged in that, and you want to balance both of these things. You can become an amazing professor, an amazing teacher, an amazing helper for others to get their lives on track and to set up ways of thinking that are healthy and personalized, with variety and uniqueness. It's just deriving that uniqueness is going to take a lot of time and a lot of struggle and a lot of maturity on your part to get to know who you really are. Looking at where Mercury is placed again here, you're going to see how exactly you manage to put together your 9th and your 3rd house. What kind of teacher are you? What kind of professor are you? Are you one at all? Are you more of one without the title? Are you going to be someone who is more of a logical prophet instead of a professor? Are you going to be someone who becomes really an eternal student compared to someone who becomes an eternal teacher? Certain variations like that will help really hone in what's going on with you, your Saturn, and your ascendant, and what's going on with your life's direction when we look at all these things together. Now, let's put Saturn in your 7th house. This is going to be in Cancer. Saturn in the 7th house as the chart ruler means that you take relationships very seriously. You take your responsibility for cultivating and maintaining healthy, emotionally open relationships very seriously. You have high standards when it comes to the safety that your friends need to be able to give you. You have very high standards for the emotional acknowledgement that your friends need to be able to give you. No matter how much emotion you actually give out, they need to acknowledge every sliver of it, because there's a lot more going on deep inside that they don't know about. So you care a lot about having that acknowledged and having your emotions be respected. And you take a lot of pride in acknowledging and respecting the emotions of others. It actually becomes very important for you to cultivate very healthy relationships and to cultivate a family outside of your own bloodline that can help support you and give you the support and acknowledgement and confidence that you need to go ahead in life and do more and be more and create more for yourself. You want that support. So relationships actually become a very serious focus for you with this placement. When you look at where Libra is placed on your midheaven, you see that the idea of your relationships building support for you, the idea of creating a family outside of your bloodline, or maybe intermingled with it, can create success for you because you need that support. They are now creating the social systems that you surround yourself in that people are going to acknowledge within your 10th house. These are the people that people are going to be talking about when they talk about you, when you look at Libra being on your midheaven. And then you see, when you look at Venus, how this is going to be interpreted. How are you going to utilize the social structure that you create for yourself, that you pay so close attention to and that you hold so dearly and protect so much? How is it going to support your career? How is it going to support your persona? And is it going to actually support it at all? Or Saturn in Leo. You pride yourself on being able to help other people structure their lives, maybe specifically financially. You take a lot of pride in being able to insert yourself in situations where other people need you and to make yourself as useful as possible so you can get as much praise as possible. This might surround your career, being someone who can go into someone's life as a realtor and get them the home that they wanted, receive that praise and that big check. Being able to be someone who is a financial advisor, go into a business setting, take over, get the praise, and get everyone giving you the big bucks again. You can just really see that idea of you flipping that Scorpio sort of tendency to actually leech off of other people, and for you to actually want people to leech off of you because it makes you feel important. Now, when we look at where Scorpio is placed in your chart and on your 11th house cusp, you can see that this is a very lucrative placement to have Saturn. To have Saturn in your 8th house means that you're taking your business very seriously. You get to utilize focus and expression, harnessing expression, taking the emotions out of it, and turning it into passion for success. And this does create a lot of backlash because you're honing so much expression and turning it into such business that you might be ignoring or avoiding the idea of real expression or real emotional expression, which is best suited through sex for you. And it may make you very self-restrictive when it comes to sexual expression here. But you'll have a lot of time for practice, and you'll have a lot of people interested in practicing with you, with Scorpio being in your 11th house. This means that relationships and communities are going to almost be surrounded around you, surrounded around your business. You become the focal point of these communities, of these businesses, of these cultures. And you get to inject your views, your business mind, your business focuses into these and actually create a strong influence within these communities that surround what you want to get done and what you want to achieve for yourself. Now you're going to want to look at Pluto and Mars here. And I should have said Jupiter for the 3rd house too. But you're going to want to look at Pluto and Mars, but more specifically Pluto, to get the idea of how and what these people are interested in. What exactly are you so inhibited about sexually? Pluto is going to tell you. What exactly is your business going to be focused on when it comes to these other people? Where are you looking for this praise when it comes from what you get done for others? Pluto is going to tell you that. Mars is going to be able to give you an insight on that as well. Very lucrative. You're going to be able to make a lot of money probably into old age, but it's most likely going to spike on the latter years. Now we look at Saturn sitting in your 9th house in Virgo. Saturn is going to be very focused on honing your talents. Virgo is an energy that comes with a tool belt of talents, tool belt of things that you just naturally can do. Virgo is a very gifted sign when it comes to utilizing those hands, utilizing these things, because they share that mercurial energy. Gemini is very good with their hands and being good at games and being good at picking up on things and learning quickly. Virgo comes into this life already with that knowledge. They understand what they're good at. They understand how to use their hands, use this ability to adapt so quickly. And with very young age, they figure out their interest, and that tool belt is now defined for the rest of their lives. Saturn wants you to take responsibility for that tool belt. Wear it with pride and make that shit work. Now, with Saturn sitting in your 9th house, you see that you're utilizing this tool belt to actually cultivate intellectual intelligence for yourself, beyond being smart, beyond being logical. How can you utilize what you learn in real life, what goes on within reality, to look at a bigger picture? Take these details and create something. Take these puzzle pieces that Virgo is so focused on and create a bigger picture. That's what Saturn wants you to do for yourself. Now, how do you go about doing this, and how are you going to utilize it? Because Virgo is very much about utility. You're going to want to look at Sagittarius being in your 12th house. This is how the bigger picture manifests. This is why the bigger picture matters. Because Virgo and Saturn are going to be very focused on these puzzle pieces, putting them together. But what they mean as this picture gets bigger and clearer on what's going on and what you're focusing on and what are you actually learning, you get the esoteric knowledge that Sagittarius is unlocking for you. What does this bigger picture mean? You will find out because of this placement within your 9th house, and the fact that Saturn is your ascendant ruler, is your chart ruler. You are focused on this. You are actually very esoterically focused, even though you take this from your skill base. You take this on honing your skills and honing your intellectual knowledge. It eventually becomes wisdom. It eventually becomes useful experience, and you eventually become a prophet or a professor on things that are beyond reality, because you know reality so well that you understand that there's more than reality. Looking at Sagittarius in your 12th house, looking at where Jupiter is placed and what's going on with Jupiter, tells you what exactly about life are you focused on? What mysteries are you going to discover? What are you going to explore in this life? If Jupiter is sitting in your 1st house, it's going to be very much about you. Well, you're going to explore what you're worth, what you're doing, where you're placed in the world, and where everybody is placed in the world, and what that means for the bigger picture when everybody understands their individual expression, their own individual worth. If, let's say, Jupiter is sitting in your 6th house, then you're going to want to explore the logic behind how everything is put together. You already understand the logic, but you want to know the bigger picture of why logic matters, what that has to do with how everyone works, and how you can help everybody else bring these higher ideals down to earth and really disseminate it and break it down into bite-sized chunks so everyone can be their own prophet, everyone can be their own professor. It's interesting. It's interesting placement, and there's a lot to be gained, and there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of brilliance that these people are going to bring into the world, with Saturn sitting in your 9th house as the chart ruler, and Virgo. Now, if we put Saturn in Libra on your midheaven, this means that you're going to take your career very serious. So Saturn already rules this house, so to have Saturn back here, it's a lot of pressure. to do it right the first time. Get it right. Build the most for yourself. The opportunities that you want for yourself are never going to be enough. You need to get bigger. You need to hit that goal and then find out what your next one's going to be, because now that you hit it, it's not good enough because you've been there, you've done that. You want to strive for more. Now, with Saturn being in Libra, it's going to be the idea of you utilizing and cultivating relations. You're going to be focused on what other people want from you. What are you willing to give these people when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to power, when it comes to influence? You're most likely going to have a very strong political mind. You're going to want to be that sort of person where being popular is actually very important to your career, like being a politician, being a celebrity of some sort, being someone who works within the parameters of social work, because you're going to need to utilize your wit, your charm, your creative mind, your political and democratic mind. You're going to have to utilize these talents, utilize these focuses to get ahead in life, which means that your career is going to most likely surround you having to utilize and cultivate and perfect these talents to get ahead in life. Now, you're going to want to look at what's going on with Capricorn. Capricorn sitting in your first house, we know that means that, again, it's going to be about you. What can you make yourself worth? How are you going to make yourself worth anything? Looking at Saturn being in your 10th house in Libra, that question is answered. You make yourself worth something by making yourself worth something to other people, by being popular, by using popularity as a means of power, as a means of success. You need to be able to sell yourself. Who can sell themselves better than a Capricorn ascendant? Who can be a better politician than the Capricorn ascendant, who is not going to explode in front of a bunch of cameras, who is not going to bend on what they feel is right and wrong within a meeting where we're setting laws or deciding what's going on within legislation? What's better than that placement? You understand what needs to be done and how you need to present yourself to the world and how to present yourself to the world with this placement here. It's a golden ratio sort of thing. Like, this is brilliant to have Saturn in Libra on your 10th house cusp as your ascendant ruler. With Saturn in your 11th house in Scorpio, you see that your focus is again on relations. You're going to have your very few friends that you work with that actually become very strong business partners. The problem here is that you're going to have to run through a lot of selfish, self-motivated, really untrustworthy individuals before you find these perfect handful of business partners to work with to cultivate the success that you want. You're going to have to deal with mundane issues kind of constantly, but this Saturn being in Scorpio means that you're going to have to understand what is the lesson of every single setback. What could you have done better? What could you have avoided? How can you create the best scenarios for you to find success as possible? How are you going to work through finding these people that are worth working with and being able to sift off all these people that are not, all these people that are selfish and plan on using you? And how can you maintain the ethical standards to be able to not use other people? You're going to have to deal with what you are capable of. What are you really capable of? You have very high standards for yourself, but the world is going to try to force those standards down. You're going to have to live in reality and deal with a lot of issues and a lot of complications regularly. You're going to have to fight an uphill battle, build the inner strength to make it to the top, and be able to find who your friends are and who your friends are not the hard way. Now, when you look at Aquarius being in your second house, again, you see the idea of this being business partnerships and the idea of you wanting to create a big influence for yourself through your business and create a big influence on the culture around you and the communities in which you are interested through your business. When you look at where Uranus and Saturn are placed, it gives you an idea of what this means for how you'll go about finding the friends that are worthwhile and that are not. This also tells you what complications you're going to be running into and what part of yourself is going to have to be destroyed constantly and made to feel inadequate constantly for you to find the necessity of innovation and find the necessity of forward thinking within the business that you want for yourself, and how you can utilize the people around you to cultivate and push that business forward. Now, lastly, with Saturn and Sagittarius in your 12th house, Saturn here cultivates a lot of fear. Sagittarius here cultivates a lot of fear. You are very afraid of failure. You are very afraid of your own inadequacies, having to realize them. You tell yourself that risk isn't important, that risk isn't how you personally will get ahead, because you just know that you're going to fail, that you're going to have to face things that you don't want to face, and that you're going to find yourself stuck and unable to move forward or backward. You need to face those fears. Saturn is holding you responsible for making these fears motivations instead of hindrances. You'll need to take this fear and learn to find excitement and joy and ecstasy out of facing them, going into situations and surviving, putting yourself outside of your comfort zone and still getting on top, still being on top. You need to prove to yourself that these fears are mistaken, and that you are worth more and that you can do more than you ever imagined. Looking at Pisces being in your 3rd house, these fears are most likely going to surround other people, cultures. How can you survive within these cultures? How can you make yourself present and accounted for within these cultures? How can you find the time and the strength and the resources to travel and see and experience the world? How can you do that without failure, without getting lost, without being trapped, without finding yourself alone and stuck? There's no way for anybody to tell you this, because you need to find out. That's what's important here. And your ascendant is focused on that as well, because Saturn is your ascendant ruler. You look at Neptune, where Neptune is placed within your chart, and that tells you what about life you are so focused on exploring. Is it actually relationships specifically? What's going on within relationships? What's going on within people? What's going on within these things? Like Neptune being in your 3rd house. Or is it really about culture, experiencing culture, assimilating yourself within that culture, and then moving on to the next and bringing that wisdom with you, like Neptune being in your 9th house? Is it about business and being able to explore different types of business and being able to explore different types of expression of your intellect, of your talent through different forms of business, diverse forms of business, like Neptune being in your 6th house or your 2nd? You'll have to look at that and look at where your fears are and look at where your strength is secretly hiding. Look at what you need to face and what you need to explore and what you need to utilize to make yourself more confident and well-rounded as a person. And that is Saturn if he is your chart ruler. Again, this is for a typical chart, very normal in a sense. I'm sure there are a lot of interceptions. I'm sure there's a lot of places, like I know a few people who have Saturn and Aquarius in their 1st house with Capricorn ascendant and stuff like that. Imagine how long it would be if I could go through all of those. But if you want to know more about having Capricorn ascendant and Saturn as your ascendant ruler, if you want to know more about how I do this and how you can figure this out, hit me up. Email me, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, right here on the comments below. Book a reading with me. We can figure it out together, get more personal, and give you more time. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned something. You can see that this placement, oh my God.